majestic for King David. Oh Lord, going to Israel, the only place where we can be free. Oh Lord, now the Irish help the Irish, and the German help the German naturally. And the Russian help the Russian, and the Chinese help the Chinese eternally. Now we got to help each other, every sister, every brother, understand. Now we got to help each other, every sister, every brother, it's God's command. Whoa, going to Israel. When I win that victory, when I win that victory, going to Israel, going to Israel, 'cause that's where we supposed to be. Ain't that where we supposed to be? Going across the Jordan man, sit right next to old King David. Going to Israel, only place where we can be free. Oh Lord, Israelite, Israelite, Israelite. Now the Irish help the Irish, and the German help the German naturally. And the Russian help the Russian, and the Chinese help the Chinese eternally. Now we got to help each other, Israelite sister and brother, understand. Now we got to help each other, every sister, every brother, it's God's command. All you Israelites, help me sing this song, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 The only place where we can be free.
My name is Cohen Michael Ben Levi of the Hebrew family of Guyana. The aim of these dissertations is to cause the true house of Israel, who have been without knowledge of themselves for countless generations, and who are now being awakened by the God of the universe, to better serve our Creator. It is our hope that by reacquainting this awakening black nation with their laws and former history, it will hasten our return to our true identity, thereby acknowledging our ancient ancestors. This in turn will allow us to know our Father's God and prepare us to stand together to meet the terrible day of the Creator that He is now readying for all mankind. May He cause all your minds and hearts to understand. Shabbat Shalom Aleichem. It is my prayer that the Holy One of Israel will bless each and every one of you on this Shabbat day. And He will comfort all of those that have had death in their families or even are experiencing even health challenges. It is my divine pleasure to speak to you once again on this Holy Shabbat day. I thank you for this opportunity. Today we have a topic called Kings the good and the bad, or it can be titled, as we will see, the good and the evil. It has never been told to us who we are as a people, nor why we fell. We don't even consider or ask what happened to bring us under this great oppression, shame, and severe punishment of slavery. No people have ever experienced such a horrific violence, destruction, death, and worldwide humiliation as the slaves transported from Africa into the Western Hemisphere. No continent inhabited anywhere on earth has undergone colonization, hatred, or human injustice like the countries on the African continent. Our humiliation began thousands of years before 1619 in the United States or North America, or 1662 in the Caribbean. This Holocaust has endured until this very Shabbat day. Why? Why has this happened? This destruction or slaughter on a mass scale. Only the Holy Scriptures, which is ancient history, can explain why. It's the book many of us know as the Old Testament. Today we will review our people's true historical past, recorded in the book of Kings, written about 3,500 years after creation of human beings on earth. And this took place during specifically the 7th century BCE, which is before the Christian era, or what is known as the Common Era. Together we will read for ourselves our history without Christian or European opinions or interpretation, which is a viewpoint they call history, meaning his story. We should never allow others to tell us what our history or what our past and our way of life is or was. No other ethnicity, people, or nation have done so, and they never will. We Black folks are in desperate need of truth, unity, and national maturity and intelligence. Although this history is about the reign of the kings of Yehuda, the Cohane or the Levite priests, as well as each family or tribe of Yisrael, was responsible for our decline and our fall. The Holy Scriptures is the authorized text of the entire Bible. Let's look first at Chronicles, the first chapter of First Chronicles, third chapter that is, verses 1 through 4, to identify this genealogy and to let us know that it's Black people that we're speaking about. All of us know you can check any book that is relating to the Bible, and you will see European figures and pictures depicted as the characters of the Bible. David, Joshua, Moses, even God and the angels. In their depiction of the Bible, they're always Europeans. No one should be angry or disappointed or upset because the truth is being told and that the true image of the people of the Bible is being portrayed as people of color. Let's read together third chapter of First Chronicles, verses 1 to 4 first, and then verses 10 to 16.
Now these were the sons of David that were born unto him in Hebron. The firstborn, Amnon, of Achinoam the Jezreelitess. The second, Daniel, of Abigail the Carmelitess. The third, Absalom, the son of Maacah, the daughter of Talmai, king of Geshur, the fourth Adoniah, the son of Haggith, the fifth Shephatiah of Abital, the sixth Ithrim by Eglah his wife. 6 were born unto him of Hebron, and there he reigned 7 years and 6 months, and in Jerusalem he reigned 30 years.
And so we can see that there's a lot of history, accurate history, facts that point us to the genealogy of King David. Read further in verse 10 so we can come up to his son Shlomo, and we can see the relationship between Menelik and, again, the man we know today in modern times as Emperor Haile Selassie.
And Solomon's son was Rehoboam, Abiah his son, Asa his son, Jehoshaphat his son, Joram his son, Ahijah his son, Joash his son, Amaziah his son, Azariah his son, Jotham his son, Ahaz his son, Hezekiah his son, Manasseh his son, Ammon his son, Josiah his son, and the sons of Josiah the firstborn, Johanan, the second, Jehoiakim, the third, Zedekiah, the fourth, Shallum, and the sons of Jehoiakim, Jeconiah his son, Zedekiah his son.
Let's look up and see if Emperor Haile Selassie was a European or a black man. Because again, this is the link. Here he is. No one denies it. So when did they turn into Europeans? Before Emperor Haile Selassie? It's absurd to think so. Again, we're just laying out the facts. Without facts, there is no truth. Without facts, there is no truth. This is the fact, and these are the facts that point us to let us know the lineage of King David. Was King David or David black? Of course he was. Black as Solomon, his son, and Menelik, his son, as well as Emperor Haile Selassie, his son. We are the only people that cannot agree on who we are or who our power Yah is. Can we at least agree that we are mentally confused, lost, and discombobulated as a people? The purpose of this truth-centered program is to free our minds from ignorance and shame. Our presentations are about love for Yah, ourselves, and service to humanity. Every people on this earth needs to know these facts about who we are, and that's a fact. And there are many people that do know. Europeans, Arabs, Africans, and there are so many that do know, and we hope that they will chime in one day and say, it is truth. Let's look at the first portion of our history that we'll be dealing with in the book of 2 Kings, the 21st chapter, chapter 21, verse 1 through 20. And we want to just make it clear that this begins with the evil king, but his father was Kesquiyahu, and that's called Hezekiah. And Manasseh is again the king that broke the camel's back. His evil surpassed the evil of all the kings before him in the tribe of Yehudah. And that made Yah and caused him to say, enough is enough. If you look at the figure that we have here before you in this chart, it shows you the vision of the kingdom. It has Yehudah, called Judah, on our left, and Yisrael, the tribes of the northern kingdom. If we look and we see the years that they were there, again, we know that Rehoboam, that's not the period we're dealing with, but we're showing that it was during the time of Jeroboam and Rehoboam that our kingdom divided. And you can see where it says evil And they have evil for Rehoboam. Well, let's see what the Jeroboam was like. Evil on his side. That means that Judah or Yehuda and the northern kingdom under Ephraim were evil at that time. We can go down to the period that we're dealing with and we can list those kings. We don't want to take time. We're putting this here for your perusal, but we want you to know that we're going to begin our history coming back. All of these kings, good and evil, you can see where it was with Joash, and you can see Jehoiahaz, and you can see again all of the Jeroboam II and Zechariah, evil. You see Uzziah, good, evil. He was part good and part evil. And we come down to Jotham, and of course, where we are going, we end in the 20th chapter is the history of Hezekiah. We're beginning at Manasseh, who it says evil, good, and that might be questionable before a lot of people. Again, we want to realize this is a chart drawn up by Europeans again. And of course, if you were to see pictures, they sure would not be depicted as people of color. But today, we must know and understand this. These were kings of Africa, black kings of Africa. Before that series, they have kings of Mali. I have a chart with all the black kings of Africa. This is before those modern kings. These are the ancient black kings in the nation of Israel, to be specific. So now let's go in and see. Let's remember what Hezekiah did. In the 20th chapter, Hezekiah fell sick. And of course, the Most High heard his prayer, his tears, and granted him 15 more years to his life. And then Hezekiah made a terrible mistake when he was visited, and he allowed the foreigners to see everything that he had in his treasures. And the Most High had Isaiah come to him and tell him that the kings that he showed all of these things would come and take every single thing that he revealed to them. And Hezekiah said, so be it, as long as it's not in my day and time, and it's going to be after my death. And so Manasseh, his son, and it seems as though we had a good king, and then we had an evil king. We had a good king, then we get an evil king. And it seems as though that this was the pattern amongst the tribe of Yehuda for many, many years. Dawid being one of those kings that is noted and was always loyal, never turned to another deity, or what they call a God. And that's small letter God. It says in the 21st chapter, first verse, it reads on this wise.
Manasseh was 12 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 55 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Hephzibah. And he did that which was evil in the sight of Yah, after the abominations of the nations, whom Yah cast out before the children of Israel. For he built again the high places which Hezekiah his father had destroyed. And he reared up altars for Baal, and made an Asherah, as did Ahab, king of Israel, and worshiped all the host of heaven, and served him.
And let's understand what the Asherah is. The Asherah was an idol of the Phoenicians. It was a goddess. And so we were worshiping the gods of what might be also known the Phoenicians as Zidonians. And so you know one of the commandments of the covenant which we broke was thou shalt have no other gods, no other powers before Yah. And this is the reason why, if you read the Bible over and over consistently, it tells us about our people, the children of Israel, turning to other gods. Baalim they were called, and there were so many of them that it angered the Creator, but no one went to the extent as did the evil of Manasseh. It continues in verse 4.
And he built altars in the house of Yah, whereof Yah said, in Jerusalem will I put my name. And he built altars for all the hosts of heaven, in the two courts of the house of Yah. And he made his son to pass through the fire, and practice soothsaying, and use enchantments, and appointed them that divine by a ghost or a familiar spirit. He wrought much evil in the sight of Yah, to provoke him.
And so we see again that this King Manasseh, he even offered his sons. Moloch is a god that they had as the chief deity among the Phoenicians. He was also the god known of the Ammonites, and he was called Moloch from the word Melech, or king. And then you had Milcom, which will come up later. He was known as the little king. In other words, the abomination of the children of Ammon. And you find that reference in 1 Kings, the 11th chapter, verse 7. We broke our agreement with the Creator. And this is why black people are suffering all over the world. It breaks my heart to see how we're killing each other in the neighborhoods called the hood all across the United States, all throughout the Caribbean, in Kingston, Jamaica, in other cities around the world, and even other ethnicities are experiencing death. Planes are falling out of the sky because the Almighty is angry with us who did not shed the light of the true and living power with the other nations. And so we fell and they have fallen as well. And the trouble is spread across all mankind. Like a previous program, woe unto us all. Moaning and suffering is everywhere because the Almighty is mad. This week, planes falling out of the sky. We, those who are doing these evil, we're bringing death on everyone on this planet. The evil of mankind is bringing death upon humanity. The Israelites have suffered the Holocaust and the worst type of suffering and it is endured for generations, and we still don't understand. We refuse to return to our Creator, and we love the gods that are no gods, and we're getting ready to do the greatest abomination called Christmas. This is the worst time of the year, and that's why all of these evils are taking place. Someone should ask the question, why is all of these things happening so close to what they call God's birthday? It's ridiculous to think that he would be so upset and do all of these evil things at a time when it's supposed to be celebration of a birthday of God that has no beginning and no end. Mankind has gone stark raving mad, and so now we're suffering all over the planet. Not just blacks, everywhere, all humanity, we're all paying the price for turning unto these idols and graven images. And every Bible says it, and we know it, but we're stubborn and rebellious, and we refuse to obey the maker of heaven and earth. In verse 7, it continues on this wise. It never changes in this script, in the scriptures of the Holy Scriptures, the message that is consistently telling us about these false deities.
And he set the graven image of Asherah that he had made in the house which Yah said to David and to Solomon his son, in this house and in Jerusalem, which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel, will I put my name forever. Neither will I cause the feet of Israel to wander any more out of the land which I gave their fathers, if only they will observe to do according to all that I have commanded them, and according to all the law that my servant Moses commanded them.
According to the Torah, we keep saying Torah, instruction, law. That's why we're suffering on this planet. All mankind, Israel has led the way for breaking the covenant of the Torah, and now the entire earth is doing it. The worst evil of it all, turning to other powers that have no power. These idols that have eyes but see not, that have ears that hear not. And the mercies of Yah, these people that look to these idols and pray to them, they don't realize it's only the mercy of Yah that does not wipe us all off this earth, that do these abominable things of worshiping sticks and stones, things that cannot help or do anything for anyone. They can't even help themselves. But they hearken not.
And Manasseh seduced them to do that which is evil more than the nations, more than did the nations whom Yah destroyed before the children of Israel.
Let me make this clear to every listener. We cannot blame Europeans for what has happened to us. These scriptures tell us we are the guilty ones. The Creator just used them for the punishment because of our evil doing. And we have to realize that Manasseh, it's clear in other scriptures, he even put his own son in the fire to Molech and burned his son in the fire. This God was a God of metal. He had his arms out. They placed the infant baby on the arms of Molech, and then they put the fire inside of it because it was a hollow place within that idol. And then they put fire in there and burned the child slowly to death. it given him again to this God called Molech. The creator hated it. It's similar to baptism today.
And Yah spoke by his servants, the prophets, saying, because Manasseh, king of Judah, have done these abominations, and have done wickedly above all that the Amorites did that were before him, and have made Judah also to sin with his idols. Therefore, thus saith Yah, the power of Israel, behold, I will bring such evil upon Jerusalem and Judah, that whosoever heareth of it, both his ears shall tingle.
You cannot tell me that when people look at us today and see our wretched condition, that their ears and eyes don't begin to tingle. I believe their eyes probably are astonished at the low state and degenerate level that we black people live in. And you know it's everywhere. Just follow colonization. It's in Africa, in Nigeria. Look at how they're stealing and kidnapping children and killing the children for ransoms. Look at what's happening all in Ghana. Look what's happening down in South Africa. And you know, you think about it. Wherever has there been a black man, prime minister, or president ruling in Europe? But yet you go to South Africa and go and look at the prime minister up in Israel, and you see Europeans ruling in the continent of Africa, because all Africa fell when Israel fell, and it was a punishment. And many people don't know the Nigerians are nothing but the nation of Israel. Ghanaians, all of those countries in South Africa, all of those places spread across the continent. Ethiopia is not, but Ethiopia is suffering because Israel is in there. We brought trouble everywhere we ran. As I said, we ran, but we could not hide from the curses of Deuteronomy 28. It goes on and says, I will wipe Jerusalem as a man wipeth a dish, wiping it and turning it upside down. We've been thrown off our land. We lost our sovereignty, and that's why we're a no people today, and we refuse to listen to a message like this. The truth actually makes people angry today, and makes our own people who have been duped, bamboozled into Christianity, they refuse to hearken, and that's why only a remnant will return. And that remnant looks like it's going to be very small unless we think and change our ways and consider what the Bible is saying, and not their part of the Bible, his story in the New Testament, but the scriptures that our fathers wrote, because we are the Hebrews, and these are the Hebrew scriptures that we're reading together.
And I will stretch over Jerusalem the line of Samaria, and the plummet of the house of Ahab. And I will wipe Jerusalem as a man wipeth a dish, wiping it and turning it upside down. And I will cast off the remnant of mine inheritance, and deliver them into the hand of their enemies, and they shall become a prey and a spoil to all their enemies.
Why is he calling them a remnant? Because Assyria had already been taken. And Assyria had already come in and taken the northern kingdom away. He left Yehuda or Judah as a remnant. And now he's going to remove them by the Babylonians, because they would not listen even after seeing what happened to our brothers up in the north, the other 10 tribes basically that were taken by the Assyrian captivity. Isaiah's life and his prophecies prophesies to the nation of Israel concerning the invasion of Assyria. Jeremiah prophesied about the Babylonian taking Yehuda away. Ezekiel prophesied in the captivity of in the Chaldean nation at the river of Chebar, because he didn't have any kings to prophesy to. They were already taken. He was prophesying in the captivity because he went into captivity with Jeremiah, and Jeremiah was sent back because he told the Babylonians that they would win the war. And we hated hearing the truth. We even put him in jail in a pit. Read your Bible, because he spoke the truth of Yah. And that's why the previous portion about Jeremiah said he was to build up and tear down not only Israel, but even the nations. It goes on to say, to tell us about our evil in the 15th verse.
Because they have done that which was evil in my sight, and have provoked me, since the day their fathers came forth out of Egypt, even unto this day.
Read that again, Brother Yaakov. How long was it that we did this evil? Since the day of their fathers?
Came forth out of Egypt, even unto this day.
Unto this Shabbat day, right now, we're still doing it. You know how many people getting ready for that Xmas day? For that day that is the worship of a false God, and they don't even consider it. He's not the creator that made heaven and earth. He died at 33. The creator tells you he's from everlasting to everlasting. When are we going to think and consider truth? Come sheep.
Moreover, Manasseh shed innocent blood very much, till he had filled Jerusalem from one end to another, beside his sin wherewith he made Judah to sin, in doing that which was evil in the sight of Yah.
And we're still shedding each other's blood. It hurts me to my heart to see our mothers cry because their sons are being shot down at 15, 16, 18, 19, and 20, and whatever in the streets of Florida, in Fort Lauderdale, in Miami, in New York City, in Chicago, in Detroit, in Philadelphia. Don't you understand that's why it's happening? Because we're bringing death on our children. The children pay for what the fathers and mothers do. We're passing death on to them because we're going to church and they're getting killed on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And then we go to church on Sunday thinking everything's going to be all right. We are so confused that it's terrible. It's terrible what's happening to us simply because we refuse to obey the Almighty, the maker of heaven and earth. It says in verse 17.
Now the rest of the acts of Manasseh and all that he did, and his sin that he sinned, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the king of Judah? And Manasseh slept with his fathers and was buried in the garden of his own house, in the garden of Uzzah, and Amnon his son reigned in his stead.
Yes, Amnon reigned in his stead, because you're going to find out he gets killed because they're going to kill him. Some of his own servants are going to wipe him out. And then, of course, the people are going to remove those men that killed Amnon. And then we're going to see that Josiah, who is the son of Amnon, he comes to reign over Israel, a righteous king, a good man, followed the reign of Manasseh and Amnon, his son, which was also evil. Two evil kings, then we got a righteous one. Let's end it out with these words.
Amon was 22 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 2 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Meshulameth, and the daughter of Haruz of Yotva.
Shulamit, from the word shalom. And that's all it is, shalom. But there was no peace at that time.
And he did that which was evil in the sight of Yah, as did Manasseh his father. And he walked in all the way that his father walked in, and served the idols that his father served, and worshiped them.
JC is an idol. Don't you understand it? That's what's the same. There's no difference. Mary is an idol. The same thing that we have to understand. They can do that, but we, the children of Israel, every 12 tribes, you are going to suffer. You're going to get punished for worshiping their God. You have your own power. And he forsook Yah,
the power of his fathers, and walked not in the way of Yah. And the servants of Ammon conspired against him, and put the king to death in his own house.
You know,
but the people of the land,
and the people of the land did what?
Slew all them that had conspired against King Ammon. And the people of the land made Josiah his son king.
Just like I have said, because I read it so many times, many of us know the history. It's those out there. That's why I ask you, share it. Get other people to hear it. Your relatives that are in the church. Just ask them to listen to the program and read the Bible so that we can get our people to wake up. It has to spread to those that don't know before more death spreads. And there is no one to take a censer to stop the death as Aaron did in the time of Moses. Death is spreading across the planet, and Christmas is making it worse. Come sheep. Continue, please.
Now the rest of the acts of Ammon, which he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the king of Judah? And he was buried in his sepulchre in the garden of Uzzah, and Josiah his son reigned in his stead.
And that's what you can find it clearly in Chronicles. It's all verifiable history. That's why you know it's truth. But they don't take this. When have you ever heard this in church? When have you ever seen this on Channel 7, Channel 2, any of those Sunday morning programs with those Europeans? They will never teach this history to you. We're destroyed for the lack of knowledge, and they are part of the conspiracy. Let me tell you something about Christmas. Christmas is not going to change white supremacy. The deception. Christmas is only a perpetuation of mental slavery. That's all it's doing. It's causing our mental condition to endure. Because with all the stuff we march about during the killings of the black youth and say Black Lives Matter, and they say, again, they don't, Christmas just helps them to make you think that it do matter. And then the day after, and by next year, the 1st of January, we'll be going to funerals again because policemen will be shooting our youth again, and Christmas will be over, and the condition will not have changed. And you look at what's happening. Why is all these terrible things happening during this season? Christmas used to be a day. Now it's September, October, November, December, and it'll also be 12 days after. It's just ridiculous for us not to understand a message like this. I believe if you don't understand me, you have wool over your eyes. The Creator's blinded you, because this can't get any plainer, and it can't be any more verified than it is by you reading your own Bible. Racism does not end at Christmas time or after Christmas. So you better think about that. And all the people who's having a merry one now, because you got to think about this. You know, I know, and everybody that's suffering, this is not a Merry Christmas. This is one of the worst ones that I've ever witnessed around the world, with all these evil things and terrible things that the Almighty's doing to mankind. Let's think about Yah. Before we go into Josiah, let's listen to this sister that sings so beautifully. The same Yah is the same Yah yesterday, today, and he will be the same Yah in the future. He's never going to change. We have changed God. He's never changing. We better understand it before it's too late. A little thoughtful music.
She'd always open up her Bible, and she'd sit me down and hold me close and say,
Jerusalem. We like New York. I've seen so many shirts say, I love New York. I've never seen a black person with a shirt that says, I love Jerusalem or Jerusalem. We ought to make that shirt, because I'm telling you, we have to open up our minds. We have to think about cause and effect. What happened? What did we do to have such an outcome that's there? I know people have left Jamaica, left Guyana, gone from other countries in the Caribbean to America with their children to have a better life, and end up shipping them in body bags back to their native land, their captive land in the Caribbean. It's terrible, it's sad. Look at what's happening in Haiti. Every time we look up, another catastrophe is happening. An explosion killed some this week. Before that, we had the earthquakes. Then we had all the other things, the assassination of the president. What's wrong with us? If Yah loves us so much, why are we doing so bad? Why are these terrible things happening to us? I'm telling you, in humility and love, it's because we're making the Creator angry every day. We refuse to return unto Him. And so we're suffering. That's why we're looking at history. This is your history, my history. It's not trying to make anyone feel bad. This is before Europeans ever came into the continent. We were doing this evil. And what history can you read where people tell, like we have told in our own history, about our evil ways? The Bible doesn't gloss over our wrong. It's plain as day throughout what we have done. And this is you and I, black folks that's in the countries scattered from the slave trade. This is what we must understand in order to escape this punishment, this curse mentioned in the chapters of Deuteronomy, Leviticus, the 26th chapter. You can go into the 37th chapter of Ezekiel. It's all through the Bible. It's talking to you and I. I am part of this ancestry. That's why I'm doing the work I'm doing today. I was a youth when I found out what we have done, shared with me by my teacher, Cohane Levi ben Yisrael, and the members of Ashaba Yisrael in Brooklyn, New York. And that's what I knew. It hurt me to my heart to know what we had done and why all of this was caused. And so I'm just trying to repay the Creator by doing what's right and teaching our people, because my forefathers were responsible, as your forefathers and your ancestors were responsible for what we're experiencing today. In the 22nd chapter of the book of Malachim, not Malachim, because you have to remember, these are not Malach. A Malach is an angel. These are the Melech, from Melech, Malachim, kings, black kings of Israel, of the tribe of Yehuda, and in the northern kingdom in Samaria under Ephraim. It says in the 22nd chapter and the first verse.
Josiah was 8 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 31 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Yedida, the daughter of Adiah of Bozkai.
And you can see that our reader Cohen Eliel is using a Y with Josiah rather than Josiah, because that's exactly what it should be, because there is no letter J in the Hebrew language. We could never have a God called Jesus because there's no letter in that alphabet, and we would never have a man as a deity in the first place.
And he did that which was right in the eyes of Yahweh, and walked in all the ways of David his father. And he turned not aside to the right hand or to the left.
A righteous young man, started at 8 years old. Hezekiah was 25. You read where 12 years old was again Manasseh. And you can see, you know that the age has a lot to do with the intelligence. Josiah is getting older now. He's 18, 10 years later. He now sends Shaphan to look into the temple, and they find the law, and you'll see what he does when he discovers the law that's been in the dust in the temple for centuries.
And it came to pass in the 18th year of King Josiah that the king sent Shaphan the son of Azaliah, the son of Meshullam, the scribe, to the house of Yahweh, saying, Go up to Hilkiah the high priest, that he may sum the money which is brought into the house of Yahweh, which the keepers of the door hath gathered of the people, and let them deliver it into the hand of the workers that have the oversight of the house of Yahweh. And let them give it unto the workmen that are in the house of Yahweh, to repair the breaches of the house, unto the carpenters, and to the builders, and to the masons, and for buying timber and hewn stone to repair the house.
And we can see that he's trying to undo what his father Ammon had done. And so he now is going to discover the law. He's trying to repair the temple. And so now when he finds the book of law and it's brought to Hilkiah and then to the king Josiah, he then changes and begins to destroy all the evil that previous kings had done before him.
Howbeit there was no reckoning made with them of the money that was delivered into their hand, for they dealt faithfully.
They were honest Levites at that time. They didn't steal the money. They had it there, and now it could be used to repair the temple that had become under disarray. And because we all know that they had now set up in Yah's house false gods and altars and all of that, as we read, done by King Manasseh.
And Hilkiah the high priest said unto Shaphan the scribe, I have found the book of the law in the house of Yahweh. And Hilkiah delivered the book to Shaphan, and he read it.
And we know that Yirmiyahu was the prophet during the time of Hilkiah. We read that in the first chapter of Yirmiyahu.
And Shaphan the scribe came to the king, and brought back word unto the king, and said, Thy servant hath poured out the money that was found in the house, and have delivered it into the hand of the workmen that have the oversight of the house of Yahweh. And Shaphan the scribe told the king, saying, Hilkiah the priest hath delivered me a book. And Shaphan read it before the king. And it came to pass, when the king had heard the words of the book of the law, that he rent his clothes.
Look at that happen. That touched the Most High, even to see that he repented and that he had such feelings and love for Yah, and how he expressed it by renting his clothes, a form of mourning in Israel. Yah was touched by it.
And the king commanded Hilkiah the priest, and Ahikam the son of Shaphan, and Achbor the son of Micaiah, and Shaphan the scribe, and Asaiah the king's servant, saying, Go ye and inquire of Yahweh for me, and for the people, and for all Judah, concerning the words of this book.
For great is the wrath of Yah.
For great was the wrath of Yahweh that is kindled against us, because our fathers have hearkened unto the words of this book, unto the words of this book, to do according to all that which is written.
Can't you see it telling you in your Bible? We did not hearken, we did not listen, we did not obey the law. It's to every black family across this planet that is of the 12 tribes that these words are directed. You and I are guilty. This is our ancestral guilt that we must acknowledge. That's why we're suffering.
So Hilkiah the priest, and Ahikam, and Achbor, and Shaphan, and Asaiah went unto Huldah, the prophetess, the wife of Shallum, the son of Tikvah, the son of Harhas, keeper of the wardrobe.
The Most High has had, now we have a prophetess, and she was probably, no doubt, a woman of Yah. And they went to her for advice, because many of our prophets, the males, had turned unto false gods. We had the prophets prophesying in the name of the Baalim.
Now she dwelt in Jerusalem in the 2nd quarter, and they spoke with her. And she said unto them, Thus saith Yahweh, the power of Israel, Tell ye the men that sent you unto me. Thus saith Yahweh, Behold, I will bring evil upon this place, and upon the inhabitants thereof, even all the words of the book which the king of Yehuda hath read.
which was the Torah. And he read it from Genesis, Bereshit, to Deuteronomy, Devarim. And I'm sure when he got to that 28th chapter in the Leviticus 26, he knew this fits us. You know, Bob Marley says, if the cap fit, wear it. We need to put this cap on and the shoe on our foot because all these words fit us, so-called black people brought across the Atlantic into slavery and those colonized in the continent itself.
Because they have forsaken me and have offered unto deities.
And we're still doing it right now.
That they might provoke me with all the work of their hands.
Getting ready for the 25th, for the highest day of abomination.
Therefore my wrath shall be kindled against this place, and it shall not be quenched.
Look at all the trouble in Jerusalem. Look at it, even today, that city is on the world map and news daily because it's still under the sin because of the European being in the land, and we are being punished in the land of Israel, in Jerusalem and out of Jerusalem to make us know and understand wherever we are, even our land is in the hands of a president that is not of the lineage of King David or Dawid.
But unto the king of Yehuda, who sent you to inquire of Yahweh, thus shall ye say
This
unto
is why
him.
this happened. Even our politicians, they can't stand up and say this. There'll no longer be a Democrat or Republican in the Senate, a Republican or Democrat, if they start to support Israel on behalf of the true people, the nation of Israel. We've all come under the yoke.
Thus saith Yahweh, the power of Israel, as touching the words which thou hast heard, because thy heart was tender, and thou didst humble thyself before Yahweh, when thou heardest what I spoke against this place, and against the inhabitants thereof, that they should become an astonishment and a curse, and hast rent thy clothes and wept before me. I also have heard, saith Yahweh.
Heard thee, saith Yahweh, and saith Yah, because we want to make it clear that this man did what all of us need to do today. All of our brothers and sisters in the churches, the politicians, and their ministers that are now becoming Messianics, and eventually they're going to just be Yah alone. They're going to get there because this awakening is gradually moving around the earth, not by power, not by might, by the Spirit of the Holy One of Israel. He's moving, and I hope and pray that these words will help in that endeavor.
Therefore, behold, I will gather thee to thy fathers, and thou shalt be gathered to thy grave in peace. Neither shall thine eyes see all the evil which I will bring upon this place. And they brought back word unto the king.
And that's what Yah did. He allowed this young man Josiah to die before he brought in Nebuchadnezzar's army and that great evil. It's going to be passed on to his sons. Many times that's the way it is. It's written in Isaiah 57. Sometimes he take a righteous man so that he does not have the enduring evil that's to come, and he allows him to perish in peace. Some sheep. We want to now go to our next chapter, 23, and we want to begin reading more about what Josiah did. Cohane Eliel Tumshi.
And the king sent, and they gathered unto him all the elders of Yehuda and of Jerusalem.
When are the elders going to come together and say, this is the truth? You see our children dying, elders. You have good sense. You can think. You know what I'm saying is true. Your grandmother and grandfather used to say, give me that old time religion. They didn't mean old time religion. They give me my old way of life. Give me Joshua and the wheel. Give me King David that slew Goliath. Give me the teachings about crossing the Red Sea and opening it up on going on dry land. That's what our elders needs to be telling our youth. Our youth are doing these things because they don't have proper instruction. The law gives them instruction. Thou shalt not murder. Love thy neighbors thyself. The children don't know the right things. That's why they're doing all this evil. They're not taught. We have to teach them and teach them what is important. The word of Yah. You can get all the science and math and all those other courses. Without the knowledge of the Creator, it means nothing. You're an educated fool unless you're dedicated to the Creator. When it comes to our way of life, it was a dedication to Yah. That was our education. If our children are not dedicated to the Creator, we're in trouble. And look at them. Look at how they're being killed and killing each other. They're killing because they don't have the proper knowledge, teachings, instruction.
And the king went up to the house of Yahweh, and all the men of Yehuda, and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem with him, and the priests, the prophets, and all the people, both small and great. And he read in their ears all the words of the book of the covenant, which was found in the house of Yahweh.
And again, let's remember, they say their other name, day and night, JC. Don't get upset when you hear the true and living name of the Creator, because that's what's in the book. If you read it in Hebrew, you'd have to read his name. No one has a name that is not to be used in code. Why do you have it? It's an identification. That's why you have to know the Creator's name. It identifies the God that you're speaking about. All the other gods had name, Molik, and all the other ones, Milcom. Yehovah and Yah is the one. They've even taught us not to say his name. They've taken his knowledge, his name, everything out of our mouths. It's part of the deception. And Christmas, you know what they're putting in our mouths. They're putting another name in your mouth, putting another understanding in your mind. And I hope you can understand what the Bible is saying. I'm just reiterating, explaining what's on the page. We're reading it together. You didn't see JC anywhere. You didn't see Mary anywhere. They're nowhere in here. This is African history. Tamshi.
And the king stood on the platform and made a covenant before Yahweh to walk after Yahweh and to keep his commandments and his statutes and his testimonies with all his heart and all his soul, to confirm the words of this covenant that were written in this book. And all the people stood to the covenant.
I can't wait until that man, that Yah will wake up in Yehuda and understand this message and begin to do what the king of Israel can do. He has to be a wealthy man, because I've met so many kings, but they never had a kingdom, not even a dime or $2, $2 to rub together in their pocket. We don't need that kind of king. We need the real king of Israel, one with the spirit of Yah and one with the ability to do the work of the king in lifting up his people.
And the king commanded Hilkiah the high priest and the priests of the second order and the keepers of the door to bring forth out of the temple of Yahweh all the vessels that were made for Baal and for the Asherah and for all the host of heaven. And he burned them without Jerusalem in the fields of Kidron, and carried the ashes of them unto Bethel.
That's not a hatred of white people. This is all black people. We burning the Phoenicians' gods. We burning all the Ammonites' gods. He's destroying the gods of people of color. And so what's the difference if the God is made by a European? It has to be destroyed. It's idolatrous. It's an abomination. It has nothing to do with racism. It has to do with the glory of Yah, which he will not give to another.
And he put down the idolatrous priests, whom the kings of Yehuda had ordained to offer in the high places in the cities of Yehuda, and in the places round about Jerusalem.
I'm guilty. My forefathers. That's why I told you I'm trying to right the wrong. Because the priests were guilty too. The tribe of Levi, we were guilty. We were offering to those gods.
Them also that offered unto Baal, to the sun, and to the moon, and to the constellations, and to all the host of heaven. And he brought out the Asherah from the house of Yahweh without Jerusalem unto the brook Kidron, and burned it at the brook Kidron, and stamped it small to powder, and cast the powder thereof upon the graves of the common people.
And now we're going to see some of the things that he's going to do, fulfilling some of the prophecies that were made by Eliyahu and Elisha. And listen to this now. You think sodomy started today? These are black sodomites. And you know, I've looked at a lot of sodomites. Seems like the black sodomites do it even better. They go further to the sodomy than the Europeans do. When we do it, then we make the women feel jealous.
He broke down the houses of the sodomites that were in the house of Yahweh, where the woman
Wove
wove
covering.
clothes for the Asherim.
In other words, what did they do? They had these gods that was a female Phoenician god, and they put clothes on them and made them garments to wear, idols with garments on them.
And he brought all the priests out of the cities of Judah and defiled the high places where the priests had made offerings from Geba to Beersheba. And he broke down the high places of the gates that were at the entrance of the gate of Joshua, the governor of the city, which were on a man's left hand as he entered the gate of the city.
And this is not Joshua that fought the battles of Jericho. This is another time. Some shit.
Nevertheless, the priests of the high places came not up to the altar of
And that word priest
Jehovah.
would have Kohanim. If you read it in English, it would be Kohanim. And that's why my title is Cohane and Cohen Levi. And we have Kohanim. And the men you call rabbis, if they're really men of Yah, they are called Kohanim as well.
Nevertheless, the priests of the high places came not up to the altar of Jehovah in Jerusalem, but they did eat unleavened bread among their brethren.
Yes, and we have titles that come from the Jewish religion. I'm not Jewish and I'm not practicing Judaism. We're straight up Torah observers as the people of Yah and not a converted people into a religion.
And he defiled Topheth, which is in the valley of the son of Hinnom.
Another place beside Jerusalem where they offered to Molech, the god that they put their children into the fire to, sons and daughters, as it said here.
That no man might make his son or his daughter to pass through the fire to Molech.
So this was not only in Topheth, it was also done in Jerusalem because Solomon and Manasseh had both set up those altars. And of course, Manasseh, we mentioned, offered his own son on the altar to Molech.
And he took away the horses that the kings of Judah had given to the sun at the entrance of the house of Yahweh by the chamber of Nathan Melech, the officer, which was in the precincts, and he burned the chariots of the sun with fire.
All these images and what have you, he destroyed it, dedicated to deities in heaven.
And the altars that were on the roof of the upper chamber of Ahaz, which the king of Yehudah had made, and the altars which Manasseh had made in the two courts of the house of Yahweh. And did the king break down and beat them down from thence, and cast the dust of them into the brook Kidron.
I'll be glad when our leaders wake up and they understand, they start destroying all those images of our modern day and time.
And the high places that were before Jerusalem, which were on the right hand of the mount of corruption, which Solomon the king of Israel builded for Ashtaroth, the detestation, Slika, of the Zidonians, and for Chemosh, the detestation of Moab, and for Milcom, the abomination of the children of Ammon, did he defile.
And I mentioned all of those gods before Milcom. There he is. And these detestations mean they were hated by the Most High. And that's why we're suffering today. These things that our people are doing at this time, he hates it, and we're being punished. And innocent people perhaps are now dying because they're being judged, and we don't know where this hand of Yah. Woe unto us all.
And he broke in pieces the pillars and cut down the Asherim and filled their places with the bones of men.
I give thanks to the Holy One of Israel for his mercies towards each and every one of us that's alive and listening. We should all thank him every day and strive every day we wake up to do what is good, what is right, and what is pleasing in the sight of the Most High. We have to make sure that our children understand that righteousness exalts a person. Righteousness is a defense. It'll guard you against the evil that's running across the planet today. You gotta do what's right according to the laws of the Holy One of Israel. Tamshi.
Moreover, the altar that was in Beit El, and the high place which Jeroboam the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin, had made, even that altar and the high place he broke down, and he burned the high place and stamped it small to powder, and burned the Asherah. And as Josiah turned himself, he spied the sepulchre that was made there in the mount, And he sent and took the bones of the sepulchres and burned them unto the altar and defiled it according to the word of Yahweh, which the man of Elohim proclaimed, who proclaimed these
You
things.
find that in 1 Kings, and you find out that this is where in chapter 12, 27, 33, in the book of 1 Kings, you find where that prophet even made that statement that he would burn men's bones on that altar. Tamshi.
Then he said, What monument is that which I see? And the men of the city told him, It is the sepulchre of the man of Elohim, who came from Judah and proclaimed these things that thou hast done against the altar of Beit
So
El.
he's being reminded that this was already said, it was prophesied, and the prophecy is being fulfilled by Josiah.
And he said, Let him be. Let no man move his bones. So they let his bones alone, with the bones of the prophet that came out of Samaria.
Because there was a prophet that was told, don't go back the other way and don't return. And he returned. And of course, we all know if you read it, what happened. The lion tore the man up, but the ass he let alone. And so again, this is prophecy being fulfilled. Everything that happened to us and happening today is the fulfillment of prophecy. We're being punished because we would not obey, and it's following us of long continuance, and it's going to continue until we turn back and return to the Holy One of Israel. Shuvah, return to Yah. We have to return. There is no compromise. The Creator is not going to stop punishing us until we acknowledge our wrong and serve Him and Him alone.
And all the houses also of the high places that were in the cities of Samaria, which the kings of Israel had made to provoke Yahweh, Josiah took away, and did to them according to all the acts that he had done in Beit El.
And we'll see later that it was the king Jeroboam, the son of Nebat. He set up two false gods, one in Beit El and the other in Dan, so that the children of Israel would not go to Judah. And that led us even further astray in the northern kingdom. So the Assyrians took that entire northern kingdom into captivity before the Babylonian captivity, which follows in a few chapters in the life of the kings of Yehudah, the southern kingdom.
And he slew all the priests of the high places that were there upon the altars, and burned men's bones upon them. And he returned to Jerusalem.
He slew the Cohane that was serving those idol gods. I'm telling you, this is not religion. This is true history in Africa before any European was on the scene.
And the king commanded all the people, saying, Keep the Passover unto Yahweh your power, as it is written in this book of the covenant.
See, that's what we don't keep. We keep Christmas, but we won't keep Passover. The greatest deliverance of our people ever. When he delivered us out of the land of Africans called Mitzrayim, Egyptians that were oppressing us. And we just don't get it. This is not about white and black. He just brought Europeans because he said, I'm going to scatter you to the four corners of the earth, and I'm going to mix you with man and beast. And he also told us that they would not have any compassion upon you. Those Africans, sometimes they had a little compassion, not much. But those Europeans, rarely do they show any compassion, especially when Yah put a spirit on them to punish us. Don't blame them. Stop blaming them. Let's blame ourselves. Let's take accountability and responsibility for our evil. Then things will get better. Let us acknowledge that we're wrong. They were just used to punish us. We had black people that punished us. The Syrians did it before them. That was not racism. The Chaldeans came, the Medes and the Persians after. They did it. That had nothing to do with the color of one's skin. And the Europeans know it. We brought this evil on ourselves. The conspiracy is, don't tell them the truth. Don't let them get back again. And that's all this is about. Deception, preventing us from doing right so that they can continue to rule. They want to have the spiritual center in the Vatican. They know if they tell you the truth, it's going back to Jerusalem. That's all this is about. Sovereignty. Who will rule? Who will be the spiritual leaders of the world? Will it be Yah's throne and ruling this earth? or will their deity called JC rule it? I'm telling you, it's never going to happen. All the prophecies been fulfilled. The creator and maker of heaven and earth will rule this earth forever. This is just a time where he's turned his back for a moment and allowed mankind to understand his own evil. That these things mount up. It's frightening to think about what's happening with China and Russia, the United States. It's just going to take one little incident before we're in a nuclear war. They're fighting up in the heavens for space. All someone has to do is shut down these computers and all the technology, and someone who has that power will be able to rule this earth. And they know it. They're struggling for that. But no one is going to rule except the maker of heaven and earth. This is his universe, and he will rule eternally.
For there was not kept such a Passover from the days of the judges that judged Israel, nor in all the days of the kings of Israel, nor of the kings of Yehuda.
These are centuries that we were away from it then. Now we're talking millennium, thousands of years since we've kept the Passover as a people.
But in the 18th year of King Josiah was this Passover kept to Yahweh in Jerusalem.
And Josiah is the one who did the right thing. Where's that king of Yehuda today? Where are those leaders of Yehuda that's going to unite us under Yah again?
Moreover, them that divined by a ghost or a familiar spirit, and the teraphim, and the idols, and all the detestable things that were spied in the land of Yehuda and in Jerusalem did Josiah put away, that he might confirm the words of the law, which were written in the book of Hilkiah the priest, found in the house of Yahweh.
And I ask you again, why can't we agree on Yah? That's the thing that divides us. All these religions, one is a Baptist, the other is a Catholic. We can never agree on being a people. That's how they have us destroyed, because they divided us with their religious teachings, and they don't care which brand of Christianity you're observing, as long as you don't turn to Yah, and as long as you don't talk nationality. Keep talking religion. Keep thinking you're religion. That's the conspiracy. That's the deception. Don't you get it?
And like unto him was there no king before him, that turned to Yahweh with all his heart, and with all his soul, and with all his might, according to all the law of Moshe. Neither after him arose there any like him. Notwithstanding, Yahweh turned not from the fierceness of his great wrath, wherewith his anger was kindled against Yehuda, because of all the provocations wherewith Manasseh had provoked.
See, that's one man caused so many generations to suffer. And we just keep adding to the iniquity by not returning and not understanding why this happened. Cause and effect. What did we do? All of us know we have some beautiful, good people, kind and righteous. And we have some evil people amongst us like all other races. But our greatest sin is that we're serving other deities and don't know the Yah of Yisrael. And we're the people of Israel. Until we know who we are as a nation, we'll never get the language correct for the people of us that we are. We'll never get the culture. That's why we're doing holidays rather than holy days. We never had any holidays. Our days are holy days set aside for the Creator. They're listed in Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, and Christmas is nowhere mentioned among them. Just check for yourself.
And Yahweh said, I will remove Yehuda also out of my sight, as I have removed Israel, and will cast off this city which I have chosen, even Jerusalem, and the house of which I said my name shall be.
This is ancient African history. This is before Europeans came there. And that's where our problem began. That's why we said we were in this situation in slavery long before 1619, long before 1662 in the West Indies. These are thousands of years before that, where our troubles, and this is why it all happened. This is the cause that brought the outcome that we're experiencing today. Now, the rest of the acts of Josiah.
And all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Yehudah? In his days, Pharaoh Necho, king of Egypt, went up against the king of Assyria to the river Euphrates, and King Josiah went against him, and he slew him at Megiddo when he had seen him.
That's how Josiah died. And so again, now we're going to get another set of kings, and we'll see whether they're good or evil.
And his servants carried him in a chariot dead from Megiddo, and brought him to Jerusalem, and buried him in his own sepulchre. And the people of the land took Jehoiahaz, and the son of Josiah, and anointed him, and made him king in his father's stead.
Jehoiahaz was the son of Josiah. He's going to reign. He starts at 23 years of age. It tells us, again, the historical lineage. This is our genealogy. That's why in Christianity, they don't want us to know genealogy, but the Bible has genealogy throughout. It's genealogy of this black people called Negroes, colored people, black African American, Afro-Guyanese, African Jamaicans, Trinidadians that brought this in Cuba, mixed up because he said he's going to mix you up. We're in Brazil by the millions. We're all over. We just have to put the understanding together and unite. And those that are conscious Israel, why won't we unite? How are the others going to unite when those who have the truth, they won't even unite? That's what the problem is. We can't blame them. We have to unite. And we're causing all the other people to suffer because the ones who have the knowledge won't even come together in righteousness and do the law and agree on the law and obey the law.
Jehoahaz was 23 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 3 months in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Hamutal, the daughter of Jeremiah of Libnah. And he did that which was evil in the sight of Yahweh, according to all that his fathers had done. And Pharaoh Necho put him in bands at Riblah in the land of Hamath, and he made him that he might not reign in Jerusalem, and put the land to a fine of 100 talents of silver and a talent of gold.
So they call it taxation today. That's why we just pay our taxes. That's how they get it. Give it to you in one hand and take it out the other. And again, we have to understand, we're so confused. Some of us think we're Egyptians. Now, you know that's terrible. Here we are, the Egyptians oppressing us. Pharaoh Necho is coming up and making us pay this. And we are so confused, we think we're Egyptians.
And Pharaoh Necho made Eliakim, the son of Josiah, king in the room of Josiah his father, and changed his name to Jehoiakim.
And they teach that in universities that we're calm, and they give you a doctorate degree once you tell them that you Kemet. So again, they use us against one another, and they say divide and conquer. They are masters at dividing us, and we're masters at being divided.
But he took Jehoahaz away, and he came to Egypt and died there. And Jehoiakim gave the silver and the gold to Pharaoh, but he taxed the land to give the money according to the commandment of Pharaoh.
Who did he charge? Tax the people. That's how I do it.
He exacted the silver and the gold of the people of the land.
Just like they do today, we end up paying those innocent people.
Of everyone according to his everyone according to his taxation, to give it to Pharaoh Necho.
And the taxes that we pay go to strengthen the enemy's position, not only in Israel, but all around the world. We are, in other times in Christmas, we call it white supremacy, but at Christmas, we throw that white supremacy out and we forget about it until after Christmas. Then we'll cry about how unjust they are, but they all good because Santa Claus done brought everybody gifts, so that stupidity is ridiculous.
Jehoiakim was 25 years old when he began to reign.
I bet you they don't believe in Santa Claus. When them children get those things, imagine you getting a BMW for Xmas and you think it came through the sky with Santa Claus on the sled. You know it's ridiculous. Just think, it's not to embarrass you. It's not to make you think how ridiculous stuff is. Here it is, the parents buying all these gifts and you saying Santa Claus did it. lying to your children, telling them in the next breath, don't lie.
And he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Zebudah, the daughter of Pedaiah of Rumah. And he did that which was evil in the sight of Yahweh, according to all that his father had done.
Maybe another song, just like they used to do in church. Tell you a bunch of lies and then play some music on the organ. This is music that really is conscious music to make you think after you've heard these words. Let's listen to some beautiful song about the one Yah. He's not 3 in 1, he's one.
Spirit on high, I can feel your love. I can feel your love. One universal love. I can feel one love. It's a blessing to be from the fruit of the tree.
cause and effect. There's a reason why things happen. The reason why we have experienced this terrible Holocaust, a real Holocaust, slaughtering of a proportion that's mass destruction, and for such long period of time. It's because we broke faith with the maker of heaven and earth. Every Bible says it. And I appreciate the Europeans that acknowledge it. Minister Farrakhan says, we're the children of Israel. We've met numerous times. He knows that we are the children of Israel. It's just a matter of when are we all going to acknowledge it together. In unity, there is strength. We have got to be one people, not many religions as a people. Let's look at 2 Kings 24, 1-9, 19. Brother Yaakov will continue. Jehoiakim, you were removed and carried to Babylon.
In his days, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up, and Jehoiakim became his servant 3 years. Then he turned and rebelled against him. And Yah sent against him bands of the Chaldeans, and bands of the Arameans, and bands of the Moabites, and bands of the children of Ammon, and sent them against Yehudah to destroy it, according to the word of Yah, which he spoke by the hand of his servants, the prophets.
Many prophets, they were all people, men of color. And these nations that came, don't blame Europeans, these were black nations that came in the beginning and destroyed us.
Surely at the commandment of Yah came this upon Yehudah, to remove them out of his sight for the sins of Manasseh, according to all that he did, and also for the innocent blood that he shed, for he filled Jerusalem with innocent blood, and Yah would not pardon.
And we're killing innocent, how much innocent blood is being shed today by us? Black people killing black people, and we're being punished for it. He that sheds man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. And there are many, many of us don't realize that when we find out one of these youth or several of them have been killed, if the record were to be shown, in many cases, they probably shed someone's blood or murdered another individual 2 weeks just before, a month before, even losing their own lives. Unfortunately, this is the case.
Now the rest of the acts of Jehoiakim, and all that he did, are they not written in the books of the chronicles of the kings of Yehudah? So Jehoiakim slept with his fathers, and Jehoiakim his son reigned in his stead. And the king of Egypt,
another king, the uncle, we'll find out, is now going to become king, because again, they're going to put another man on the throne. As we continue to read on, we'll see Mattaniah, who becomes Zedekiah, he's going to next be king in the final chapters that we'll see, the last king before our fall as a nation and our losing our sovereignty as a people. So Jehoiakim,
and the king of Egypt came not again any more out of his land. For the king of Babylon had taken from the brook of Egypt unto the river Euphrates all that pertained to the king of Egypt.
A new world power came on the scene called Babylon.
Jehoiakim was 18 years old when he began to reign. And he reigned in Jerusalem 3 months. And his mother's name was Nehushta, the daughter of El-Nathan of Jerusalem. And he did that which was evil in the sight of Yah, according to all that his father had done. At that time, the servants of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up to Jerusalem, and the city was besieged. And Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came unto the city while his servants were besieging it. And Jehoiakim, the king of Yehudah, went out to the king of Babylon, he and his mother, and his servants, and his princes, and his officers. And the king of Babylon took him in the 8th year of his reign.
And he was lucky they didn't kill him. In fact, he's going to be raised up later by the king of Babylon because, again, he came out with his mother and surrendered.
And he carried out thence all the treasures of the house of Yah, and the treasures of the king's house, and cut in pieces all the vessels of gold which Solomon, king of Israel, had made in the temple of Yah, as Yah had said.
And he told Hezekiah, you showed him everything, and he's going to take everything out of the nation and out of the city of Jerusalem to Babylon. And it came to pass just as Yah prophesied.
And he carried away all Jerusalem, and all the princes, and all the mighty men of valor, even 10,000 captives, and the craftsmen, and the smiths, none remained, save the poorest sort of the people of the land.
You may not believe this, but that's who remained in Africa when they did the slave trade. They looked at even the beauty of the people because they didn't want ugly servants in the house. So they went across Africa, and when they lined us up, they said, oh, he's handsome, let him go. He can't go, she can't go. And anyone who were the poor people and didn't have the ability to respond to questions, to learn the English language, learn how to be a good American, a good European, a good British person, they were left there. And they took the intelligence out of Africa.
And he carried away Jehoiakim to Babylon, and the king's mother, and the king's wives, and his officers, and the chief men of the land carried he into captivity from Jerusalem to Babylon.
But they left those brothers that had those physiques, like, again, Kareem and all them brothers that had those things, and they knew these are athletes here. When they get them into Greece, and we start to have our competitions in those theaters and in those arenas, they're going to be the ones that we can put there to see if he's stronger than a horse. Put a horse on each side and see if we can pull them apart. Again, he can win and pull them together. So again, they did all of this, and that was how they did even in modern times. In the 1600s, trust me, they didn't take anybody out of Africa. They took the intelligence. Why do you think you have certain people now that are good artists and all these people that are scientists and what have you, black people? They knew who the intelligence was. They did all of that. It was selection by, again, what you call how they would look, character selection, beauty selection. They have men selections for models. They looked at us, and trust me, this was done very craftily.
And all the men of might, even 7,000, and the craftsmen and the smiths 1,000, all of them strong and apt for war.
All even the warriors took them out. Even them, the king of Babylon,
brought captive to Babylon. And the king of Babylon made Mattaniah his father's brother king in his stead, and changed his name to Zedekiah.
Now you know that very thing probably was Zedekiah. In other words, Mattaniah was his name, and they changed his name like they changed ours. This wasn't Europeans. These are Babylonians, black people, the Persians, the Medes. They're changing our names. The Medes were during the Assyrian Empire, and of course, they were the ones that took over before the Persian Empire, but here, they changed our names just like they did in modern times. No different. When you were a slave, it wasn't a matter of color being brought to do these things. The Most High just took fierce people that would punish us because of our evil against him. He didn't care whether they were white or black, as long as we got the punishment for our treachery against Yah.
Sidkiyahu was 21 years old when he began to reign. And he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Kamuthal, the daughter of Jeremiah of Libnah. And he did that which was evil in the sight of Yah, according to all that Jehoiakim had done. For through the anger of Yah did it come to pass in Jerusalem, Yehudah, until he had cast him out from his presence.
You hear that? Zedekiah. Anger. You tell me this is love? All the things that's happening in December alone, just take December alone. Go and check the news and see across the planet the evil and the terrible things that have happened in the hood. Check that out too. And you'll see it's not love. It's the anger of Yah that's bringing this on our people. And this is a program of love. I love you, and that's why I'm doing this.
And Zedekiah rebelled against the king of Babylon.
And
25.
that's, he rebelled too. And now he's rebelling against what Yah said will happen, so that caused his destruction. See, when Yah said you going into slaughter, into captivity, go like a lamb to the slaughter. Anyone that rebelled against the captivity, you had death. If you gave in, you had a chance to live. So Zedekiah is rebelling against the prophecy given against Manasseh, and it cost him his eyesight and his 70 sons. The last chapter for this portion today. Let's read it and understand it above all things.
And it came to pass in the 9th year of his reign, in the 10th month, in the 10th day of the month, that King Nebuchadrezzar, king of Babylon, came, he and his army, against Jerusalem, and encamped against it. And they built forts against it round about.
Waited us out, starved us out. That's what happened. These are terrible things. You think slavery was bad in modern times. You have to see how it began. This is the cause of our present outcome.
So the city was besieged unto the 11th year of King Zedekiah. On the 9th day of the 4th month, the famine was sore in the city, so that there was no bread for the people of the land.
When are they all going to link up? Sisera, I hope he hears this and says, yeah, I agree. I'm going to contact the Israelites. I hope that all over the world, the people that understand that some of us are already conscious. We know we're Yisrael. Those basketball players that know you got to get on board. We need you. We need to unite as a people to send a message, and then the love will come from the Europeans. Once we stand together, they will join us because we'll have those people that they respect and that they look up to in sports and in entertainment. That's where our problem is.
Then a breach was made in the city, and all the men of war fled by night by the way of the gate between the two walls, which was by the king's garden. Now the Chaldeans were against the city round about, and the king went by the way of the Arabah.
The Arabah is the flatlands. He tried to run. You can run, but you can't hide from Yah. This is the hand of Yah. We got to do something for our children. Is anyone thinking about our children? All the children. Look at how the youth are shooting up in these schools. Many of them are Europeans. Even though they get the report that it's a felony to put a threat against the school, it's not stopping because Yah's doing it. He's doing this. It's not man. This is the spiritual force that rules the universe that's causing this on humanity. This is a program in service to humanity. It's in service to our people, yes. And we see how important it is for us to get it, but it's in service to humanity.
But the army of the Chaldeans pursued after the king, and overtook him in the plains of Jericho, and all the army was scattered from him. Then they took the king and carried him up unto the king of Babylon to Riblah, and they gave judgment upon him.
And we'll read the judgment in a moment, but it's a terrible judgment. But what we have to understand is that we are suffering. Our children are dying because of this main point. You know, they say when you read a story, you have a main character, you have a main idea. Isn't the main idea what we've been reading about serving false deities and about the people of Israel who are us, that's of people of color and that were brought into the Western Hemisphere and colonized all across the continent of Africa, suffering like no other continent, as we said in the beginning? Don't you get it? This is it. This is the thing that we need to understand. And if we come together, our restoration will occur. That's why our teacher named our community, along with all those founders of our community in Brooklyn, Hashaba Yisrael. It means the restoration of Israel. The restoration. We've dedicated ourselves to restore the name of Yah, of Yahuwah in this earth. And just one of the many servants that came out of that community that's doing it. Some of them have passed away. Moreh Mishael. All of these brothers, Seren Yaakov, still here speaking. We have brothers all over. I can't name them all. My program is about glorifying Yah, but I think of our family every day. my teacher wives and his family. I pray for them every day and for all Israel. In the south, Safon, Bequedem in the east, Be Darom, Negev in the south, Be Yama, Be in the west, Panima Ha'adama in the midst of all the earth. I pray for you every day that you'll wake up and do what's right and return to the Torah, the laws of Yah.
And they slew the sons of Zedekiah before his eyes, and put out the eyes of Zedekiah, and bound him in fetters, and carried him to Babylon. Now in the 5th month, on the 7th day of the month, which was the 19th year of King Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard.
The month of Av, you read the history of Israel, in the 5th month, some of the most terrible things. Aharon died in that, the high priest. Some of the worst things have happened in the 5th month on the Hebrew calendar called Av. And if you know when Nebuchadnezzar came, he came in the 4th month, which was a month, a Babylonian month, and that we changed the name because it was the name of a Babylonian god. Cohane Levi changed it to Zakir. Remember not to make mention of the name of other deities. We make mention only in showing the falsehood of it. We're never promoting them, exalting them. We do it to destroy the lie and the abominable names of these deities, false deities.
A servant of the king of Babylon unto Jerusalem. And he burnt the house of Yahweh, and the king's house, and all the houses of Jerusalem. Even every great man's house burnt he with fire.
That occurred before 1619. You thought we suffered then? Look at this. We've been under thousands of years of hand-me-down slaves. The Moabites, the Philistines, the Egyptians. Persia passed us on to the Greeks. The Greeks passed us as slaves on to the Romans. Then when the Roman Empire broke up, we became the slaves of the British, the Spanish, the Dutch, the Germans. You get it? Just read your history. This is Black history, ancient history, before the modern history just mentioned.
And all the army of the Chaldeans that were with the captain of the guard broke down the walls of Jerusalem round about. And the residue of the people that were left in the city, and those that fell by the way, that fell to the king of Babylon, and the residue of the multitude, did Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, carry away
And if
captive.
you don't know it, those names, Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuzaradan, they're all names of the heavens, the planets. Just look it up.
But the captain of the guard left of the poorest of the land to be vine dressers and husbandmen.
They paid tax with their labor, just like you did on the plantation. You could have called that the plantation back then, but they didn't use that word. We were on the plantations, of course, in all of the South America, all down in the Caribbean, working that sugar cane, cutting it, and again, giving that rum and sending it back to England. And then in North America, we picked that cotton and then watermelons. Yeah, we was on the plantations for a long time, in Africa and in the West.
And the pillars of brass that were in the house of Yahweh, and the bases and the brazen sea that were in the house of Yahweh, did the Chaldeans break in pieces and carried the brass of them
Just
to
like
Babylon.
Yah told that King Hezekiah, all that would happen, and it was over and over and over again, the invasions into our sovereignty, which caused it to end.
And the pots and the shovels and the snuffers and the pans and all the vessels of brass wherewith they ministered took they away.
All of the holy vessels in the temple were taken out to Babylon. They're in those countries right now. They're called those, they have them as in their museums. In some of their museums, they're in the basement of the Queen's House of England, and only the presidents of countries can go and see it. You and I never see that stuff. That's secretive stuff. You think they destroyed the gold? No. They go in there and they meet them presidents and say, look, let me show you some of Solomon's and David's stuff, but you know, you can't take no pictures or nothing of this stuff. Believe me, you wish you could be a fly on the wall in the Queen's castle when they come in there, because I'm telling you, this is in Spain, it's in all of those countries. They know I'm not lying, and there are many Europeans that know it, but again, until we stand up for ourselves. Why should anybody else?
And the fire pans and the basins that which was of gold, in gold, and that which was of silver, in silver, the captain of the guard took away. The 2 pillars, the 1 seat, and the bases, which Solomon had made for the house of Jehovah, the brass of all these vessels was without weight. The height of 1 pillar was 18 cubits, and a capital of brass was upon it. And the height of the capital was 3 cubits, with network and pomegranates upon the capital round about, all of brass. And like unto these had the 2nd pillar with network.
And you go and weigh brass today, it carries a price. You know silver carries a price, and you know gold carries a price. So believe me, that was money in those days, just like glass was, again, very expensive in ancient days.
And the captain of the guard took Sariah, the chief priest, and Zephaniah, the 2nd priest, and the keeper and the 3 keepers of the door. And out of the city he took an officer that was set over the men of war, and 5 men of them that saw the king's face, who were found in the city, and the scribe of the captain of the host, who mustered the people of the land, and 80 men of the people of the land that were found in the city.
And what do you think is going to happen to them? Because they were like the leaders and those who encouraged the people to stand. You know what's going to happen to them.
And Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, took them and brought them to the king of Babylon in Riblah.
You see that city, Riblah? It's in Babylon, just like Nineveh, right there today. This is not no mythical stuff. This is ancient history, and it's factual history, and it's true. Without facts, there is no truth. These are facts here. You can't get around it.
And the king of Babylon smote them and put them to death at Riblah in the land of Hamath. So Yehudah was carried away captive out of his land.
That's the truth of the matter. Those who tried to stand up, they were killed.
And as for the people that were left in the land of Yehudah, whom Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had left, even over them he made Gedaliah, the son of Ahikam, the son of Shaphan, governor.
And you'll find out the history if you read that. They decided, because they were told by the king of Babylon, stay in the land, work it as men that were dressed as figures and what have you. And of course, they did not like that. They wanted to go down into Egypt, so they're going to slay the man that was left in charge. And again, you see that even Ishmael, and he's going to bring others, and they're going to again change the leadership, because even when there's nothing to be ruled over, we kill each other over that.
Now, when all the captains of the forces, they and their men, heard that the king of Babylon had made Gedaliah governor, they came to Gedaliah of Mizpeh, even Ishmael, the son of Nethaniah, and Johanan, the son of Kareah, and Sariah, the son of Tanhumeth, the Netophathite, and Yaazaniah, the son of the Ma'akathite, they and their men.
These are just regions of the land, cities or towns that they came from.
And Gedaliah swore to them and to their men, and they said unto them, fear not, because of the servants of the Chaldeans dwell in the land, and serve the king of Babylon, and it shall be well with you.
So he's telling them, just like he was told, serve the king of Babylon, everything's going to be well, and see how they're going to take that. They're going to conspire against him.
But it came to pass in the 7th month that Ishmael, the son of Nethaniah, the son of Elishama, of the seed of the seed royal, came to the 10 men with him, and smote Gedaliah that he died. And the Jews of the Judites, and the Judites,
see how they slipped Judah in there to make you think it's Jews? It was Judah all the time. How did the Jews get in there? It's all the trickery, how they use deception on our people with the pictures in the Bible depicting black people as white, and now changing and making you think these are Jewish people, and they were nowhere on the scene. Nobody had converted yet. A Jew had not been born anywhere.
And the Judites and the Chaldeans that were with him in Mizpah, at Mizpah, and all the people, both small and great, and the captains of the forces arose and came to Egypt, for they were afraid of the Chaldeans.
There were no Czechoslovakians to convert to Judaism. There was no Russians at this time that they could have converted to Judaism. There were no Germans yet on the earth and in the scene as a nation of the people to convert. Conversion took hundreds of years later. That's an entirely different time and segment of history and different episode.
And it came to pass in the 37th year of the captivity of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, in the 12th month, on the 27th day of the month, that evil Merodach, king of Babylon.
That's a good name. This evil. We should have put that in front of all the kings of Israel too. Go ahead.
In the year that he began to reign, did he lift up the head of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, out of prison.
That was the one who surrendered with his mother and his family and went. He lifted him up, and he's going to give him a daily portion of mazon for the rest of his life.
And he spoke kindly to him and set his throne above the throne of the kings that were with him in Babylon.
Meaning the other foreign kings. He made that king even again above those that he had conquered, Egypt and others.
And he changed his prison garments and did eat bread before him continually all the days of his life.
The mercies of Yah unto that one man. But look how the nation has suffered because of the sins of individuals at different times in our history.
And for his allowance, there was a continual allowance given him of the king, every day a portion, all the days of his life.
And what type of satisfaction would that be, him knowing what had happened to the tribe of Yehuda and his people? Let's listen to one more song before we close out. And I think Cohen Eliel's song will be most appropriate at this time.
Confused for so long, I've been taken from my home, shipped across the seas. I've been whipped and enslaved, worked and unpaid. I've been lost for so long, searching far and wide, and I'm trying to find my name. Tell it to me who stole my name. Tell it to me who's behind this game. Who stole my land? Tell it to me who's behind this plan. Who stole my name? Tell it to me who's behind this game. Who stole my land? Tell it to me who's behind this plan. Breathing out such lies, imposters in disguise. They stole away my name. Yes, their preachers play this game. They gave to me their JC and forcefully enslaved me. They made me serve this man, and this was all their plan. Tell it to me who stole my name. Tell it to me who's behind this game. Who stole my land? Tell it to me who's behind this plan. Who stole my name? Tell it to me who's behind this game. Who stole my land? Tell it to me who's behind this plan. I know you're hiding, planning. I see you plotting, scheming, trying to keep me sleeping. I know you, I see you. My God is watching, waiting. He hears me pleading, calling. I'm changing and returning. I'm rising. You stole my language and identity. They dress tricks and try to be like me. Claim that they have freed me, but yet they still deceive me. Teaching me their Bible, their Savior and disciple. They've thrown away their whips and replaced them with their tricks. Tell it to me who stole my name. Tell it to me who's behind this game.
Yavareka Yehovah, Yishmareka. Yair Yehovah Panayo Aleka Wikumeka. Yisa Yehovah Panayo Aleka. Wayasim the Ka Shalom. May Yah bless thee and keep thee. May Yehovah cause his face to shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. May Yah lift up his countenance upon thee and give thee peace. So shall the Cohane place my name upon the children of Israel, and I, Yah, the maker of heaven and earth, will bless them. Amen. Hallelujah.
And they should put my name upon the children of Israel, and I bless them. Sing
Family to among Israel so Namidia Mishira one family to among Israel so Namidia Mishira